It's time.
Hello everyone, and welcome to this presentation focusing on Machibarusu Project. Over the next 20 minutes, you'll be able to discover new information and announcements about this universe, from characters to stories and even more. All announcements will be posted continuously on Twitter, so if you cannot watch this presentation, keep an eye on our Twitter account, @Machibarusu. Now, let's start. In this first section, we like to show you around Machibarusu, with a brief introduction to one of its many planets, where the majority of the first stories will take place, Chajikina. Chajikina is a planet from the Neutron system, well known for its varied landscapes as well as its veil, covering more than half of the planet. A total of 10 countries share this land. So let's give you a quick overview using this map, from left to right and from top to bottom. Layton is an ancient country where religion and tradition play an important role. Its climate is described as cold and wet, and it is home to several mountain ranges, including the second largest on the planet. Right next to it is Aten, a country with a recent history, born from incessant political conflict in the region. As a result, its architecture is modern and nothing special, but its intermediate location between the other two astral regions makes it a dangerous place to live in times of war. Finally, to complete the trio, we have Satan, an empire set in lands that are often dry and arid. Most of the major cities are on the coast, with a few exceptions, and the entire country is powered by one solar generator within its capital. Western Oshken found its independence from the former Oshken democracy with the help of Satan's army. The country remains closed to the outside world and foreigners, with the exception of its ally citizens, who have the right to stay as they please. Eastern Oshken, on the other hand, is a remnant of the old Oshken that's trying to stay on its feet. With a hatred of Satan, the government often proposes coalitions with Layton or Aten in times of war, hoping one day to reclaim what they say is rightfully theirs. The Empire of Malrain boasts one of the largest habitable areas on the planet. Yet, the majority of the population remains close to the coast, with most of the country made up of mountains and volcanoes. Furthermore, it has a sizable number of islands. Just below lies Felicia, a kingdom that prefers to stay away from conflict and live its own life. Since the rise of global warming, much of the land has become uncultivable, leading to various agreements with other countries. As the name suggests, Frosalandia is the coldest country in Chajikina. With its vast size and empty expanses, some describe it as an overworld. Who knows how many kilometers are still buried within the veil? Tamako is a group of islands with its administrative center located above Frosalandia. However, its territory stretches across the entire planet, as a result of conquest by sea the founders were so fond of. Finally, the most powerful empire to have ever existed, Xana. Ruled by the same dynasty since its creation, this country has undergone various difficult periods, but has always displayed a portrait of peace and harmony. Speaking of which, it might be the time to reveal the character that has been teased since last week. This one from the latter country. Please take a look. Interested in having scrap metal parts delivered to your doorstep? Kamil Bedenia is at your service. Residing in Sky Gardens, he leads a modest life and doesn't even have a home, relying on his friend Surai Muko for accommodations in exchange for delivery services. However, even he has his little secret, seeking to unravel his enigmatic past, which he believes was erased by Sky Gardens director himself, Richard Sinclair. This quest will unveil the darkest secret of the supposed paradise and thrust him into a rebellion. Furthermore, Camille isn't the only one that will be revealed today. Here is a first teaser for the second character that will be shown in this presentation. Machibarusu stories can be divided into two categories: main series and one-shots. Main series are usually composed of 4 chapters, with rare exceptions, which in turn are made up of 6 acts. This allows the story to have different narrative arcs in a balanced way. One-shots, on the other hand, are not divided into chapters, and themselves directly comprise a total of 10 acts. These stories, though smaller, still have their importance, they just do not have more to tell. In the remainder of this section, we'll be focusing solely on the 6 main series that have been already introduced through the announcements of recent years. To begin with, Dynasty is still a series in the making, so it is difficult for us to reveal any more details. However, we can tell you that it will focus on the Zanayarada dynasty, as well as Windy Yamikoe, one of the victims of Chaos Cataclysm, who is seeking a place in this new world. Next, we have Sky Gardens, a series exploring the flying fortress of the same name through the eyes of our main character, Camille Benenia. His adventures will lead him to discover the twisted truth about this project, but fortunately, his friends such as Anpul and Raimuko will be there to accompany him. Circle of Sorcery will introduce us to the magical side of Machibarusu through characters such as Osore Panpokin, Nori Honta, and Shizukaya Kumeho. Our sorcerers will have to face their demons in order to overcome their problems, often family related, while trying to unravel the secret of the mysterious manuscript. The ravages of war on the population are explored in Echoes of Deceit. Here, you'll discover the perfect yet fragile relationship between Kazu Funka, an ordinary man, and Saki Mechanica, a woman part of the New Moon organization. With a strong focus on the personal aspect, this series will have a slower pace than the others. On the other side of the region, Identity will introduce Shika Senami, newly arrived on Latent Soil to observe the events of war. However, she has a secondary mission in mind, to find out what's going on behind the scene. To this end, she will assemble a special group to act in the shadows. I am also pleased to announce that the character will be revealed before the end of this presentation will be a character from this storyline. It is now time to talk about the final storyline to be announced today, that being Secret Service. Secret Service introduces the governmental organization of the same name, whose aim is to prevent disastrous events, from the like of the terrorist attack already experienced by the country. In this way, they will be plunged into a variety of missions, each more dangerous than the last, for the safety of the government and the population. Let's take a look at this series, and specifically at its first chapter, The Regiment. In it, the Secret Service will have to confront the Regiment, an activist group whose primary aim is to make Haitian nationality more accessible to all, and to secure a home for every single citizen. However, the regiment is said to have turned to violence, and has been deemed responsible for another recent attack on the country's soil. It is hard for us to tell more without revealing crucial details, but don't panic, we've still got more to tell you, such as revealing our cast of characters this chapter, starting with our 6 main ones. Nuru Kiwishi was one of the first SSC recruits, as she is the daughter of Ayaro Kiwishi, a former colleague of the director. Trained by the latter, and using a father eponymous sword, she specializes in close combat, although she seems to often act recklessly. She quickly made friends with Martha Sennet, with whom she enjoys training and chatting on any subject. She's usually part of Chen Yu's squad. Martha Sednet was a detective before joining the SSE, and that is all that is known about her former life, her files being confidential. She often takes part in missions alongside Chen Yu, acting as his deputy in case of emergencies, although she does not really share the same ideas as he does. She is not really sociable, but gets on quite well with the agents, especially Nuru Kiwishi and Sayana Kukui. However, she despises Arthur Aram. Arthur Aram was trained by President Ibuki herself when he was just a soldier in the army. Today, he leads his own squad in the SSE. Seen as a voice of reason by some, but as a narcissistic, ignorant by others, he is not that appreciated among his colleagues. But that does not stop him from doing his job. He finds it hard to accept that he has made mistakes, and has a preference for ignoring feedbacks from others. Igor Tenvosky was just a young soldier when his life was turned upside down by his capture on the battlefield. In a case similar to Martha Sednet, the details of his past are confidential. Today, he seems to have regained his smile, acting like the comedian of his squad, in which he is under the direction of Chen Yu. Despite this, the director prefers to avoid deploying Igor too much, afraid of triggering memories from his past. Sayana Kukui acts as the receptionist of the Chinese Star Hotel, where the SSE HQ is located. Her task can be summed up as being the last line of defense in the event of an attack on the building. Otherwise, she performs the classic receptionist duties, although she admits she misses letting off steam, having been an English soldier in her days. However, she seems terrified of resuming her position, mainly because she does not want to leave her daughter alone. Stefan Evinskog has been director of the SSC since its creation, and was appointed as such by Emmeline Lawrence, the Minister of the Armed Forces. He decides not only on recruits, but also on the composition of squads and the conduct of operations. This role puts a lot of pressure on him, but he is ready to take the responsibility. Less well known is the fact that he took Nuru Kiwishi under his wing after her father was murdered a few years ago. These main characters are joined by an array of recurring characters, including Agent Chen Liu and his wife Wang Liu, Penny Asul from the Research Division, Emmeline Lawrence, the Minister of the Army, and Kai and Sakwe Grandeluna, the regiment's standard bearers. Many other characters will join the fight, both recurring and minor, throughout 6 acts of this first chapter. Speaking of which, let's take a look at something special. Each act will have its own cover, and we're delighted to present the cover of the first 3 acts. Starting it all, Ceremonial Trap will introduce you to the land of Phaeton and to the Secret Service, as well as its agents. The second act, Together We Stand, will open your eyes on the regiment's struggle and values. Finally, the third, Invasion at a Loss, offers a deeper reflection on all the characters and the world as it changes. The other 3 covers will be revealed later on, as the acts get released. By the way, when will the first act be readable? Well, I'm pleased to announce that Act 1 of Chapter 1 of Secret Service is scheduled for release in July. Don't worry, we will keep you posted. To shorten the wait, you can already join the Machibarusu Discord server to discuss the project with other interested people, as well as members from the team. To make your experience even more satisfying, a new set of 10 Secret Service themed emotes will be released. Discover the storyline's major characters at their best with these. Oh, and what about the last one? Well, it will be revealed before the end of the presentation, but we would like to keep it a secret for the time being. If that's not enough for you, you can also enjoy this new illustration, which can be used as wallpaper, depicting a dazzling confrontation between Arthur and Kay. It will be available for download on the wiki after this presentation. Now that it is out of the way, isn't it about time we reveal this long-awaited character? Enjoy! With nearly 5 years of service in the Navy under her belt, Amato Sorayami was selected by Chika Tsunami to aid her in her observation operations. Serious and outspoken, she distinguished herself by her inclination toward assisting people rather than pursuing prestige. She didn't really even express interest in Chika's offer, she simply happened to be the rare gem the latter was seeking. However, beneath this flawless facade lies someone who feels like a mere pawn on a chessboard, someone who perceives herself as unremarkable, and Chika took notice of that. Thank you all for watching this presentation. Your continued support for this project is a pleasure to see, and we hope to live up to your expectations. But wait, we have one last thing to show before we part. It is time.
What the hell was that?
Hello, Mastermind.
What? You?
Sorry for the interruption. I had to step in.
Where is Kira?
Oh, well. She's resting for a bit. Don't panic. I wouldn't hurt on a lie.
I thought I ordered all of you to not own any agents.
Yeah, I know.
Do you even realize?
The main objective has been achieved. Isn't that the most important? Moving forward, no matter what came before, isn't that your motto? Even if we just get caught in the middle of the action, even if we're just taken aback and don't know how to react, even if we're clueless about what's happening around us, even if we have to witness it all, unable to do anything about it. No matter what happens, the goal must be achieved, because what's done is done, and we must move on. I try to think that way too, but it's hard, you know. But don't be worried. This case was unique, 'cause it was strictly personal. It's been a long time, hasn't it?
Fauci vanished? Think again. Tail on Jupiter has returned, and she's not staying quiet about what is troubling her. After parting ways with her friend, she underwent intensive combat training facilitated by her family's connections, until the events of the 18th of Destales 2749 altered her profoundly. Now driven by the fervent desire to dismantle the terrorists accountable for the attacks, and fueled by a thirst for revenge, she is willing to breach the principles of a newfound faction, the Red Rose Mercenaries.